Hi everyone, I'm Lindsay Minaton, and today I'm going to be discussing how I studied the social impact DNA testing through qualitative interview coding with 4 fellow research assistants under the mentorship of Dr. Wendy Roth. To provide some background to these tests, according to the National Institute of Health, more than 26 million people worldwide have undergone genetic ancestry testing by direct-to-consumer companies. In this project, we were able to analyze how these tests are interpreted by individuals, how it can affect their sense of racial or ethnic identity, their definitions of race and ethnicity, and even their behaviors. These interviewees were obtained through an initial survey conducted by Dr. Roth that was spread through 3 companies, online genealogy forums, and Facebook groups. From the survey, 482 eligible participants were asked for an interview. 76% of them consented, 92% of these participants were American. These interviews are transcribed verbatim using alice.ti, and we coded them using open coding procedures by Strauss and Corbin that are used to code themes. These interviews were coded so Dr. Roth could perform a qualitative data analysis, which is a research method that forms conclusions and finds patterns based upon non-numerical data, like these interviews. We coded 2 types of interviews: Wave 1 interviews that are given to participants after the initial survey, and Wave 2 interviews that were given months later after the Wave 1 interview. We used over 150 codes, which are not your normal codes. They're terms assigned to highlighted chunks of text, and they have specific definitions and uses. In the case of the immigration code, we used it when a participant described their experience with immigration and how it potentially affected their racial or ethnic identity. Some codes are used more easily than others, like the long-term codes that are primarily used in Wave 2 interviews to examine the longevity of behaviors and attitudes that were mentioned in the Wave 1 interviews. To code these interviews, we use MaxQDA, which offers tools to code and categorize data, but also makes it easy to identify patterns, themes, and relationships within data. If you see below, that's what our screen looked like when we coded with MaxQDA. The process was highly enjoyable, but it didn't come without its challenges. Initially, we used NVivo, which was not only incompatible with certain types of laptops, but when used with VLab software, which is the University of Pennsylvania software, it was slow and glitchy. So we ended up switching to MaxQDA. In our first meetings, we simply learned the coding list, new terms regarding genetic ancestry testing, and the software itself. Later, we moved on to group coding and peer review coding. Group coding, where we would look at 1 transcript and assign codes to certain chunks of text. And then peer review coding, where we would independently code our own interviews, but exchange them with each other to see if we were using them in the way that we should. Then eventually moved on to weekly coding meetings, where we independently coded, but we could ask questions regarding confusing pieces of text. These coded interview transcripts will be used in Dr. Roth's upcoming book, Through the DNA Looking Glass: The Impact of Genetic Ancestry Testing on Race, Ethnicity, and Family. Not only did I take away a familiarity with qualitative research methods, but I learned to work with other people and develop intercoder reliability, which furthered my communication skills. And I was able to gain insight into diverse perspectives on various cultures and histories that I wasn't familiar with before. It is thanks to my fellow research assistants, the mentorship of Dr. Roth, and the PERM program itself that I learned such lessons I can take with me for a lifetime.